Hey everyone, so recently I went to the Lehigh Valley Auto Show. This is the first auto show I ever went to. Yeah, I know, I'm a car guy, but I need to get out more. And it was a rather small one, so naturally I was going in there with pretty low expectations. I was expecting the best thing to be there would probably be a Ford Mustang, Chevy Corvette, maybe a Porsche 911 if I was lucky. But as this video is about to show, my expectations were absolutely exceeded here. They pretty much had anything that a car guy could want here except for maybe a $1 million hypercar, but again, this was a small show, so I wasn't expecting anything that extreme there. This video is going to be of me going through each section of the auto show, alongside giving some commentary on some of the more notable rides there. So sit back, and let's get right into the show!
Before I started looking around, they gave me this nice little program guide. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, let's look around.
So I started my journey around the auto show at the Japanese import building, and one of the first cars that I saw was this cute little Mazda Miata. Nothing much, but it's the first time I've actually ever been up close to one of these things. And also allowed to actually step inside of the interior.
Looks like most of this display is digital. Literally one of the first cars I step into is a nice little sports car like this. Can't say I'm disappointed.
After looking at the Honda section, right next to it was the Toyota section. Don't worry, it's not all boring cars in this section, but I decided to save the better stuff for later. In the meantime, I decided to step inside this new Prius, which, say all you want about it, at least the interior of the thing looked pretty alright.
Now talk about a full digital display. The thing even has that good old new car smell.
And well, you know what they say about VTubers and conspicuous buttons. Anyways, in a more secluded area of the Toyota section, that was where they hid the good stuff. Of course, the highlight of this section had to be everyone's favorite JDM legend. I mean, it's either that, the Skyline GTR, or the 8086. And of course, I had the opportunity to go inside this one.
I want to go see it. Oh boy, everyone's favorite. Great to see that there are a few cars out there with manuals. At least the shift manuals. Man, I can only imagine how satisfying it would feel driving this one down the Autobahn.
Now on to Nissan. Unfortunately, there was no GTR at the show, or Skyline GTR for that matter, but at the very least at the center of the Nissan area, they still had the relatively new RZ34, or Nissan Z, or 400Z, I don't know, it's gone by so many nicknames at this point it's hard to keep track of. Anyways, like the Supra, I was actually allowed to go inside this one.
Interesting. Of course, going towards that all digital display.
Actually, for this car in particular, I take that back because some of the gauges in this car were still analog. Here's something I didn't expect to see in the Japanese section. They had two classic restored muscle cars here. Both of these cars were Chevy Chevelles and they were both pretty badass. Granted, I wasn't actually allowed anywhere near these two because, well, again, they were classics and the owners didn't want anyone touching them. But it was still pretty cool to see some classic vehicles over at the show. And this orange Chevelle, I'm pretty sure if you've seen Fast and Furious, you'll easily recognize this car. Now for the last section of the Japanese building, it was Subaru, or as I've started calling it, Sub-Uwu, because, you know, Japanese and VTubing. Anyways, the one interesting car that I found in this area was the new BRZ. And of course, Couldn't help myself and went inside. Now into the next building, which contained primarily American vehicles, alongside a few surprises. But wait, before we go on guys, I want y'all to know that I'm about to reach 1,000 subscribers, and I would greatly appreciate it if y'all would hit the subscribe button and help me reach this massive milestone. I'm also on the road to 200 followers on Twitch, so if you have the time to, please be sure to check out my Twitch channel and drop a follow there as well. Every week on my community tab, I post a schedule for when I'm live on both YouTube and Twitch. So if you want to catch me while I'm live, that's where you'll be able to see when you can. Anyways, live stream plug out of the way, now let's get back into the rest of the video. Funnily enough, the first vehicle that I saw in this section wasn't even a car, it was a bus. Looked like an old classic transit bus that they restored as well, so yeah. Oh lord, next to this thing was a classic restored Cadillac, which, why? If that's your thing, more power to you, but this one just, I didn't like the looks of this one. I mean, I like the car, I did not like what they did to it. This next one is fairly interesting in comparison to the last one, in my opinion. This was an old Fiat convertible converted into an electric vehicle. Again, from the outside, this was a pretty clean looking sports car, and unlike most vehicles here, I was fortunate enough to get the chance to interview the people behind this one.
So he's one of the students that built the vehicle.
Great. Could you tell us what you know about it?
Yeah, so we, in the summer of 2023, me and one of our kids, Spencer, we converted this into this 1970 Fiat into 100% electric. The electric motors in the front, that bolts right up to the factory 5-speed manual. The drivetrain from the transmission back is all factory from 1970. And in the back we have the battery, and then you have two converters. One's an AC/DC converter, one's a DC/AC converter. And the battery is a 100 volt battery, and you have a 12 volt battery that runs your lights and everything, horns and whatnot. And the motor has 120 horsepower, three-phase motor, three-phase controller on top of the motor.
On the reliability scale, would you rate this above or below a Tesla?
Probably below. It's a kit that was made, I mean, not made by a manufacturer, I guess. So, we have had a couple issues with it. We've been working on a couple bugs, but I mean, it's fun to drive. Nice toy, powerful, definitely quick.
I would say in the looks department, it's definitely above.
Oh yeah, I think so. It's honestly a really good looking car. I love it.
All right, thanks for your input.
Yeah. Have a good day.
You as well.
I appreciated the opportunity to interview the BAVTS crew on this car, and again, it's absolutely gorgeous, and I commend the work that they put in getting this thing running. I thought I was at the end of crazy stuff for the show, but as soon as I turned the corner, that was when it hit me like a truck. Now, if it wasn't already obvious, I am a big fan of Lamborghini and McLaren vehicles, and to see two of their newest supercars out on display like this, I was absolutely elated. Especially since the McLaren Artura was added to the Horizon back shop as of the week that I was recording this, and the Huracan Cerato was announced to be coming into the game with the new Horizon Realms update. So yeah, I was absolutely thrilled to see both of these cars in person, and they were certainly two of the biggest highlights for me at the show. Now, I've never seen these before, but to me these look like they were inspired by the Mercedes G-Wagon, so if any of y'all have any input on these, feel free to comment them down below. Also, apparently tents on cars is a new thing now. Honestly, I thought we left that behind with the Pontiac Aztec, but it's back, I guess.
unexpected. Definitely not unwelcome. That's pretty cool, actually.
Now, the Corvette here, I guess you could call it a supercar now because it sort of has that shape and it has the performance stats to back it up. This was one of the few supercars at the show that I was actually allowed to go inside of, and so I gladly did.
Now that's badass right there.
Now, I'll be honest, I like the look of the Dodge Charger EV, but my problem is that they call this thing the Daytona, and it doesn't have the Daytona style to it. As in, would have much preferred if they just called this thing the Dodge Charger EV, and at the very least, have it available as a V8 variant. Now we're back to more exciting stuff. There was this company called Black Glass that had a section of the auto show, and with it, they rented several high-performance vehicles and put them in their section. First of which was this dirt kart racer, I think it is. I don't really have that much knowledge on this vehicle, so if you have any, please feel free to comment it down below. Well, here was another one that I wasn't all that knowledgeable about. Again, besides the fact that it looked pretty extreme, I didn't have that much knowledge on the vehicle, so again, if you have any, feel free to comment it down below. Now, this was something I wasn't expecting to see. Replica or not, seeing a Ferrari F1 car at a small show like this absolutely shocked me. Now, thankfully, the person who set this car up on display was here, so I was able to gain some insight about the interesting history behind this vehicle.
Is this car the real deal?
It is a...
Or is it...
It is the
replica?
real deal, but 3 cars were made to build this one.
3 cars, so it's like...
It's not 100% original, but it is a real deal Formula 1 car. So there's not like there's fabricated parts, it's just a collage of 3 of these cars made into one.
It's a Camaro of sorts.
It's, I think what do you call it, Frankenstein. So it's all original, the original parts, but it's not 100% original part. It's my understanding.
Thank you for your input.
Oh, no problem.
And if that wasn't enough, there was also a NASCAR Camaro here. Now, this particular racing team isn't anything prestigious or anything, but it was still very interesting to be able to see one of these things up close. Even get a little peek in the interior there. I wasn't allowed inside this one, but still got a peek. Now, I'm sure you noticed what was behind the F1 car, but I'll be getting to that in a little bit. For now, I decided to take a little side trip and check out this Porsche 911. It looked pretty clean, honestly. The white and black, the nice Resto Mod body kit it had on it. It looked very, very cool. And next to the 911, there was this modified Ford F450 Super Duty. And, well, the number one thing that I noticed about this thing was the rims, specifically the bolts. It had those, what I like to call tire shredding bolts on the rims. You know, those bolts that look like spikes and they're meant to shred someone's tires if you get too close to it. And here I am questioning if these modifications are legal. And I saved the best for last, in my opinion. In the middle of the black glass section, there were 3 modified supercars, and well, these were absolute highlights for me as well. Starting things off with this Lamborghini Huracan, this one was pretty cool. I like the color of it, I like the body kit parts that went on it. Heck, I even like that they colored the interior for it as well. The only thing I didn't like, besides the rims, which, you know, that's subject to opinion, was the fact that we weren't allowed anywhere near this thing. They had signs on all 3 of these cars saying do not touch, which I can understand, but still, it was a little bit disappointing that I couldn't get too close to it. Next up was probably my favorite car at the entire show, this Gen 1 Audi R8. This car, everything about it just clicked for me. The design, the color, the body kit, the rims, everything. Even the fact that it was a V8 R8 instead of a V10. Just, wow. And I would have no problem saying that this car was my favorite at the show. Last but certainly not least for this section was this blue 720S, which I kind of like this one as well. The blue on it looks very good, and I also like the carbon fiber hood that this thing has. Though I kind of wonder if this thing has Vorsteiner parts on it. If you guys can tell, please be sure to let me know in the comments down below. And I just had to get a shot of all 3 of these together. Pure me and the boys moment right here. Alright, on to the final section of the auto show, and this one had the luxury brands inside of it. There weren't that many there, but I still decided to take some photos and videos while I was inside this place. And funnily enough, one of the first vehicles that I saw here was the other car that was added to the Forza Horizon 5 backstage shop. And well, curiosity got the best of me and I decided to hop in. One feature of this car that I noticed right away and was actually accurately replicated in Horizon 5 was the removable roof panels. Meaning that you could remove the panels on the roof and you could stick your head out the top. Which is cool, funny, describe it however you will. I just enjoyed being able to stick my head out the top and look out over the rest of the show. Unfortunately, there were only a few really interesting vehicles in this section of the show, and of them, only like a fraction of them I was actually allowed to go inside of. So yeah, I quickly went through this section, and then at the end, that was when I got to the interesting stuff.
Soundproof windows. One of automotive engineering's greatest inventions. And look at the complexity of the interior. Remember that? You also have one of these for your charging cords. Gotta love all this wood paneling everywhere. Gives a very retro luxury feel to it.
I was now at the penultimate area for the auto show for me, and that would be Porsche. And unfortunately there was no 911 here, but at the very least they had the Panamera and the 718 here, which those are pretty cool I guess, and in the 718 I was also allowed to go inside of. And now for the last area, Mercedes-Benz. And like the show as a whole, this area absolutely blew me away because there was 3 notable vehicles here. First of which was this Mercedes Maybach S-Class, which Oh boy, I wish they could have allowed us to go inside this one, but unfortunately this thing had an electronic lock on it, and just the way that the door handles were designed, they didn't allow us to go inside. But at the very least, I got a snapshot of the interior, which it might just have the best interior that I've seen at the entire show. Next up was this AMG GT63. Oh, saying that. Try saying that one 5 times fast. AMG GT63, AMG GT63. Anyways, this car, like the Maybach, unfortunately, this one was locked, so we weren't allowed inside this one. But it was still pretty cool to see one of these things in person. And, well, at first I just thought it was called the AMG GT because, you know, it has that same styling as the original AMG GT. Last but not least was the CLE 63 AMG, which, this one looks pretty slick, honestly. I'm not really a fan of cars in red, but this one, it wears it very well. At least I was allowed to go in the interior for this one and get a taste of what a Mercedes interior is like. And oh boy, I was not disappointed. And well, these weren't technically part of the show, but I decided to include them because I caught them out in the parking lot. And with that, that's the end of the show. Thank you so much for watching to the end, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like down below, and subscribe for future content. Until then, everyone, take care, and farewell.